This is Matthew Robert Payne. This is Living a Life of Eternal Significance. Chapter 8, The Loneliness of Greatness. So I'll be interested in what you have to say, Tolu, in this one.
Wow. The loneliness of greatness. Do you know where my mind went straight?
Where?
To Papa.
Yeah, you could talk about that.
Um, well, we'll see. We'll see. This is about King Solomon, but we'll see. So there is a form of loneliness that success often creates. Papa's loneliness is not about success, so I'll stick to the chapter, which very few people speak about, honestly. Not the loneliness of being unseen. Papa experiences the loneliness of being unseen. It's great, but it's not known. It's not understood. But we are talking about loneliness of being seen. But you're being seen, you're popular, you're famous, but you still experience the loneliness of being elevated high above other, because influence can surround a person with people while simultaneously separating them emotionally from genuine connection. These are the things a lot of people that are famous do experience. Even though they're surrounded by people, simultaneously they're still thinking they're separated emotionally from them because they don't have the genuine connection. And I'm sure Michael Jackson can attest to that. John Lennon can attest to that. Maybe Taylor can attest to that as well. When you're famous, you're known, but you're still very lonely because no one knows you. You know that. Even your fans don't know you. And this is one of the hidden burdens carried by many highly successful individuals. The higher a person rises, the fewer people often fully understand the weight they carry. And I think now I could say this represents Papa as well. Not at the beginning, when we started conversation with God, I was going in with the mindset that God is in charge, is superior, is in control. He runs the world, he runs everything. So he must be in such a favorable position. And then when Papa started speaking, I'm like, there's nothing in what I believed that represented the real one. The real God is lonely. The real God is unknown. The real God suffers. And he is the one that has been highly exalted. He's so high there, but not known. And this is the burden he carries. And this is the burden successful individuals carry. And this is why the life of King Solomon feels so emotionally layered, because people often focus on his wealth, they focus on his wisdom, they focus on his accomplishment, they focus on his influence, they focus on his greatness. And that is the same about God. You focus on what he's created, human beings, animals, so many things, nature. But greatness itself carries psychological and emotional cost many never consider, because leadership isolates. And that is what has happened to God. It's very isolated, very, very isolated. And I'm hoping that now he's feeling the love of his children around him. And the greater, and when I mean isolate, it doesn't necessarily have to be physical, it could be emotional as well. And the greater the responsibility, the more difficult it often becomes to find spaces where a person can fully excel. They can trust, they can process honestly or be understood beyond their position. King Solomon experienced this, and I know God experiences this as well. It's very difficult for God to trust you. And that's why a lot of people experience challenges when they're trying to be close to God, because God will test you for him to be able to reveal your heart, his heart to you, because it's been let down by so many of his children. And this is one reason many successful people secretly feel exhausted despite appearing outwardly accomplished. Influence creates pressure. No one carries pressure more than the creator of heaven and earth. God carries huge pressure every day. Leadership requires constant decision making, constant responsibility, constant emotional regulation, constant carrying of outcomes affecting other people. I was so glad when Jesus still repeated it yesterday that, or maybe Papa, that now we don't carry the responsibility we used to carry, like being given access to the prayers that were coming from the earth. That because of that, their pain has reduced a little bit. Imagine being under that constant pressure of request all day. No one cares about the state of God's heart. And I'm sure King Solomon, that's why he resonates so well with God, because he understands what it is to be high up and no one below you or around you, you cannot connect with you because your mindset is totally different from their mindset. What do you call people that love that when you're singing? Your fans. Your fans cannot connect with you. You're thinking of something different. And I remember Matthew saying one of the things that Michael Jackson liked about Matthew was because Matthew was not a fan, he was a real friend. He wanted to understand him. And that's what a lot of people care about. That's what God cares about. He wants to be loved, he wants to be known. And a lot of famous people, they struggle with that. They want to be known, they want to be loved for them, not for their talent. And over time, many leaders become so accustomed to managing environment externally that they slowly lose connection with their own inner world internally. You know, God almost makes it as well. I never knew how bad God almost lost it. He even forgot who he was with the pressure, with the sadness. And now he has to be going through. What you're going through treatment? Remind me what that word is.
It's respite.
Respite, something like that. Going through healing. Trying, like June, reminding him who he was. That he has forgotten because of pressure of his children, the demand upon him. And I believe a lot of people that are famous as well, they feel that demand. Sometimes in the process of that demand, they're looking for something else to escape. And that's when they start having different addictions in their life. Alcohol, drug, trying to use it to escape the reality that is right in front of you. That you're fed up of living that life every day. Everyone sees their strength, but few notices their fatigue. No one notices God's fatigue. Everyone just saw God as someone that was mighty. And when God started speaking to myself and Matthew, and of course the listeners as well, and he was going through all of these emotions. And I'm thinking, this God needs me more than I need him. Just like, is it Billy that come to know Matthew and was thinking knowing Matthew was going to relieve him, and he got to know Matthew is even more damaged than she is. And God is really, really desperate for love, for his children to think about him. And I was like, what kind of God have I been taught about? Because this God is naturally a loving father that his children has lost away. I know this chapter is about King Solomon, but there just seems to be a lot of similarities. It just resonates with what I think God is going through as well.
It's okay to talk about God.
Okay. So everyone admires the platform. Everyone admires God. Everyone admires Taylor Swift. Everyone admired this pop King Solomon, and people still admire him. I remember the first time I spoke to King Solomon, like, King Solomon, I can't believe I'm speaking with you. I cannot believe it. Wake me up. And he was like, Tolu, don't worry. Because, of course, King Solomon is someone that I dearly respect. But these people as well want people to relate to them like they are at their level. There's some things that God is telling me. I don't like saying things that God tells me privately, outwardly. But I could see that God is trying to tell me, Tolu, you can trust me. You can say whatever you need to say. See me as your equal. I'm thinking, God, it's not possible. I can't see you that way. But God, that is when you start seeing God as your friend, that's when you can start meeting his name. When you start seeing these famous people as human beings like yourself, that's when you can meet their needs. Even Taylor Swift told Matthew, we respect you. And Matthew's thinking, wow, all of these famous people, why would they respect me? Because they know who Matthew is, but Matthew doesn't know who he is. And everyone admires the platform that these people have reached in their life, but few understand the pressure beneath it. And this is why greatness often creates emotional distance relationally. A lot of people are emotionally distant from God. They don't know him. Not necessarily because successful people become prideful, but because position changes human interaction. And that's the problem. That was why I was asking God in the conversation this morning that why do people have relationship with you, even the ones that are so close, that are prophet, but they still have a working relationship with you? Because they still position God as someone they need to look at. They don't see God as their father. So that positioning impacts the way you build relationship with him. And if you've positioned someone, someone that is famous like Taylor Swift, if you've positioned in different, that's when you see her, you almost feel like fainting, like dying. So how can you have human interaction with someone that you've already fainted on the floor even before they get close to you? And this is what famous people experience. This is what wealthy people experience. They can't find real friends. A lot of them, maybe they just have one or two or very few in numbers. And some people approach leaders for access rather than relationship. God knows that. I'm sure King Solomon will have experienced that as well, where people are trying to approach him not because they love him, but because they need something from him. And that is how those bastard Christians have been in heaven for a long time. They were just there, useless, maximizing all God's blessing, thinking they are better than every other person and can be responsible to God. Can't even try to be intimate with God because it's difficult. So when it's difficult, does that mean you should give up? Pushing a baby out is difficult, but you can't leave that baby halfway. No matter how difficult it is, they will tell you, push, you have to bring it out. If not, the baby will die. So why do people think having a relationship with God is unachievable? And if it's unachievable, why are you able to pursue other things in life that are of irrelevance? And it was hard, but you pushed through. So stop saying having relationship with God is hard. Bloody push through. Continue knocking on the door until he opens the door. And when he opens the door, it will be worthwhile. All the pain that you've gone through, you will feel it is worthwhile. I remember Ben saying one of our conversations, Ben is my husband, if somebody is wondering who is Ben, and he's in heaven now. And Ben was telling me, Tolu, it is really difficult to be close to God. You have to really push through. You have to. But it's achievable. King Solomon is his friend. It's achievable. Michael Jackson is God's friend. It's achievable. So, even though it is good to be God, but what about if you don't have friends? Others become intimidated about your greatness. Others become performative around your influence. And that's why God says sometimes I go to the cigar lounge in heaven and I ensure that they can't see me. I'm invisible. Because when people see me, they start being performative about who they are again. They start behaving differently, hypocritical. And others project expectations impossible to sustain. And over time, genuinely safe connection becomes increasingly rare. And this is especially true for God and for people carrying unusual responsibility, visibility, or wisdom, because wisdom itself can become emotionally isolating. King Solomon wrote, in much wisdom is much grief. And God has told me that so many times. God saying, in much knowing, he knows too much. But what does that knowledge cost you? Grief. And this is profoundly revealing because awareness increases emotional burden. The more deeply a person understands humanity, consequences, suffering, which God understands all of this, complexity of life, motives, corruptions, mortality, the fragility of life, the other it often becomes to live superficially. Wisdom removes those certain illusions. There's so many things that a lot of illusions have been removed from my life through this relationship with heaven. I live differently. My goals are different now. What I pursue is different. And once that illusion disappears, Matthew, why are you looking sideways? Once your illusion are you typing?
No.
Once illusion disappears, innocency changes. And that's what's happening to me. A lot of illusions that I have about God has disappeared. And now I'm getting to know him. And you can know him as well. And this is why deeply perceptive people often carry sadness others cannot fully explain. Not because wisdom removes joy, but because awareness increases sensitivity. Matthew can be really sad. You know, Matthew fits into this chapter in a way as well because he's so great spiritually to the extent that people have rendered him useless. They see him as someone that they cannot communicate with on earth. But in heaven, is such a great man of God that is really close to God. And because of what he carries, is very sensitive to God's sadness. It's very sensitive to God's emotion. And sometimes we start a conversation, Matthew is happy, and all of a sudden, it just feels sad. And he will tell me, Tolu, I can feel God. I can feel what God is feeling. And because of that, it's impacted me. It's like that sadness just comes over him. And that is the thing that he has carried for so long. And sometimes you could think, okay, no one knows Matthew, but he is a great man of God. And because of what he carries, he finds it difficult to be able to find true friend as well, even at his own level, because he's carrying something greater than the world can really perceive, that the world can really understand. And because of that, when he starts speaking about heaven, he starts speaking about his interests, what happened? People start looking at him as if he's crazy. Actually, he is crazy. But you know what I mean? Like, he must be in delusion. He must be daydreaming. But the question I will ask you is is a human being. Are you a person? Are you a physical person? Or are you foundationally spiritual? You've got a spirit, you've got your soul, and you've got your body. Why do we relate so much more to our body, to our physical sense, and we ignore our soul and our spirit? And when someone is well connected to his soul and spirit, well connected to his source, you think the person is deluded. So who is actually deluded? You. Because for Matthew, wisdom has removed certain illusions. Matthew doesn't care about money, even though I'm trying to encourage him to love money a little bit. So that if somebody gives him money next time, take it.
Take it.
Take it. Don't be too righteous. Oh, I don't need it. You don't need it, pass it to me. I will, in case, because you've got random food at your gate, Matthew. In case if you've got random money in your account as well, send it to me. I will use it well for you. So the other, it often becomes to live superficially for a lot of people like Matthew. He does not want to live superficially. And what happens? He doesn't have friends that can understand him at his level. And I think King Solomon experienced that, God experiences that. People do not want to be close to God because they don't want to discuss the things that God is interested in. They want to discuss about the things that concerns them, not listening to God. A wise person often notices hidden tension, emotional wounds, relational dishonesty. They notice pride, they notice manipulation, they notice insecurity, and the emptiness hidden beneath much striving. And carrying this level of perception continuously can become emotionally exhausting, especially when combined with leadership. Because leadership often requires functioning publicly while processing privately. That is how God, Jesus, and Holy Spirit did for a long time in heaven. They were functioning publicly, but while privately, they were weeping. They were in pain. And this creates an eternal split many influential people quietly live with. Externally, they are confident. God was confident. God was strong. God was showing capable. God was decisive. But internally, he was exhausted. He's tired. And that is how famous people think. They're tired. They are burdened. They are emotionally stretched. They are longing for rest. And this is why many successful people secretly create spaces where they are not needed for what they provide. God just wants you to be his friend. He doesn't want you to come to him because you want provision. He doesn't want you to come to you because you want greatness. He doesn't want you to come to him because you want fame. But that is your own understanding of God use me. A lot of pastors, a lot of evangelists, they want God to use them. Or if it's not using them externally where people that can see them to them, that is not God using them. If you're just a friend of God privately, to you, that is nothing. And it's the greatest calling. The greatest calling has become nothing. Everyone wants to be outward about their love for God, which is fake. It's not real. And because greatness often conditions relationships around usefulness, people that are great will love wisdom. They love the influence. They love the leadership, the access, the resources, the opportunity, or the sources, while really asking, how is your soul actually doing? With all this greatness around you, with all this opportunity. And this creates a profound relational loneliness. Not lack of people, it's lack of true emotional refuge. Because I remember when God said, I only have 100 true friends. Even Billy Graham is not among them. And I remember we speaking to Billy Graham and said, I tried, it was difficult, so I gave up trying to be his friend. 100 people were close to God before. Out of all of his creation, that is embarrassment. And it's not that there's no people that want to be his friend, in quote, but they lack true emotional refuge. He cannot trust them. He cannot be open to them. And this is what Matthew is always looking for, but in the wrong places. Because when he goes to his cyber friend, he probably wants them to be his emotional refuge where he can open up. Then he offload all his load in 1 or 2 days. And they're thinking, oh, I don't know, maybe I need to take off. I don't think I want to be with this guy. He's really crazy. But that's a sign of loneliness. When you see someone and you're so chatty, it is because you've been looking for a place to pour your heart. I suffer the loneliness because my husband is not here with me physically, because it was only Ben that understood me to the level that I want to be understood, and is the one I can say any crazy thing with, and he will believe it. Or I can tell him I want to do this, and he will encourage me, go for it. Who can I discuss that with now? Matthew, Gabriel, Benjamin? But it depends. I cannot even discuss some of the things with Benjamin because Benjamin thinks I'm crazy because they're too deep. So perhaps this is one reason Matthew wake up. Success often separates people relationally. Not because greatness automatically destroys relationship, but because unequal levels of responsibility, awareness, influence, or ambition can create emotional distance difficult to bridge naturally. So some relationships becomes transactional, that's the majority of relationship with God. It is transactional. If you want to be close to God because you want something, that is transactional. Others becomes competitive, others slowly weaken because fewer people understand the reality of the person's inner world. And this is why many leaders quietly grieve the loss of simplicity. Many of them, they just want to live a simple life sometimes. Earlier in life, relationships often feel lighter. It's more spontaneous. It's less layered by influence, by visibility, by expectation of status. But as greatness increases, human interaction often changes. And if the soul is not deeply grounded, isolation can quietly intensify. And this is where success becomes dangerous emotionally, because lonely people often seek relief in unhealthy places. Some numb themselves through work. I numb myself through work. Some through achievement, through entertainment, through luxury, through addiction, through pleasure, through relationship, through endless movement. Anything to temporarily silence the weight they carry internally. And perhaps this is one reason King Solomon's life eventually drifted relationally and spiritually in certain areas, because external greatness does not remove human vulnerability. Yes, and external greatness, God is great, but he's still human. He's very vulnerable. He wants to be loved. And in many ways, everyone wants to be loved. And even greatness intensifies your need for it. And this is important because many people romanticize success without understanding the emotional demands attached to influence. They imagine freedom, admiration, power, comfort, but rarely consider the pressure that comes with it, the responsibility that comes with it, the emotional isolation that comes with it, the distrust that comes with it, the fatigue that comes with it, the constant demand leadership places upon the soul. And that's why I love this calling that God has placed upon my life. It's very hidden. I have my peace because all I'm interested in to sit at the feet of God. Every other thing I could care less about. That's all I want. I don't want to be known. Nobody don't know me. I don't want to be known. I just want to be God's friend. That's it. And yet, greatness itself is not the problem. Isolation becomes dangerous when people begin carrying their bodies disconnected from intimacy with God. Because no amount of human admiration can heal emotional exhaustion permanently. Applause cannot restore the soul. Recognition cannot replace intimacy. Success cannot substitute for rest. And that's why Matthew needs to know that what he carries is so much treasurable. You carry treasure. You've got the best. The ones that are successful want what you have, Matthew.
Yes.
They will willingly exchange what you have and give you their wealth. I was speaking to someone recently and said, this guy has got all the money, but he's got poor health. He will willingly give all of his money to be okay again. So cherish what you have, Matthew. And this is where King Solomon's life becomes tragic in certain ways. A man surrounded by abundance can still feel emotionally alone. A man admired by nations can still carry inward weariness. God is admired by people from afar, by Christians. They think they admire God, but he carries inward weariness that they cannot even connect to. A man overflowing with wisdom can still wrestle deeply with sorrow. That's God. He wrestles with sorrow every day. I don't know why I keep mentioning God, but maybe the people that don't know, they'll just be able to know that he needs you so much. And this is one reason achievement alone cannot sustain the human spirit, because the soul was not designed merely for influence. It was designed for connection, not with people, but with God, not only with people, rather, but with God as well. And this is why intimacy matters so deeply for influential people, because intimacy recenters identity beyond performance. It reminds the soul you are loved beyond what you produce, you are valuable beyond what you achieve, and you are human beyond what people expect from you. Because without this grounding, leadership can slowly consume identity entirely. It can slowly consume it. So you need to have that grounding. And I think this is one of the things I really appreciated about my husband, that even though he experienced so much struggle, so much pain, unheard, that a lot of pain that he went through, he never tell me, but he was well grounded in God. He know who he was. And on the last few days to him die, he said, Tolu, I'm at peace with God. That grounding was so sure, was so solid. And that's what you want to know, you want to have. You want to be grounded in God. You want to know him. You want to have this deep relationship with him. And the person stops knowing who they are. Sorry, and this person stops knowing who they are because they've linked who they are to their success, to their usefulness, to their responsibility, to their achievement. And eventually the soul begins collapsing under the weight of constantly carrying greatness without inward rest. And perhaps this is why some of the most actually successful people are inwardly exhausted. Not because greatness is evil, but because greatness was never meant to replace intimacy with God, vulnerability, your rest, your emotional honesty, and your dependence upon God. And maybe this is one of the deepest lessons hidden inside King Solomon's life. Greatness can elevate a person publicly while isolating them privately, which is why the soul must remain anchored somewhere deeper than influence itself, because leadership without intimacy eventually becomes emotionally unbearable. And wisdom without closeness to God can slowly become sorrow too heavy for the human heart to carry alone. God bless.
Well, it's wonderful to be here and have the chance to speak. Do you know, the chapter title is The Loneliness of Greatness. I listened to an audiobook about John Lennon. I'm not sure if I've covered this before in this book, but John Lennon met Yoko Ono, and he met her in an art gallery and immediately fell in love with her, immediately loved her. And he said until he'd met Yoko Ono, no one had ever seen him. No one had truly seen him before, and she understood him. And that's really amazing because he was the lead singer of the most popular band in the world at the time, and millions of people knew him, but no one truly knew him. He didn't really connect with anyone. And that was the same. I've been listening to, like I've said, I've been listening to a lot of videos about Taylor Swift, and that was the same thing Travis did to her fiance. He truly saw her. He saw her off stage. He saw her other than the pop star. He saw who she really was, and they went off to a private place and spent a few days together, and there was just no phones, no social media, and just quiet times by the fire, just sometimes hours just of quietness. And he just really loved her and brought her out of herself and taught her not to respond to social media posts and what the media said about her, and just helped her ride the wave of popularity and what the media is constantly saying. So sometimes people who are very successful don't have people around them that really understand them and feed into them and are able to hold them up and encourage them. So the same was true of Princess Diana. Same was true of Michael Jackson. Same was true of the Queen. Uh, it seems that every time someone's really popular in the world's eyes, not many people know them personally. Not many people truly see them. We've interviewed the Queen in heaven, and she's really funny. How many of you knew that about the Queen, that she's really funny? And Prince Philip, her husband, is really funny too. And so leadership and success carries with itself its own burden where it can be highly isolating. I've found personally, like Tolu has said, I've got a great relationship with God. I've got top class access. Like you would say, if you're the president, you have top secret clearance, and I have top level access to heaven. I can personally reach out and contact anyone in the Bible or anyone that's passed on that's in heaven. I can reach out and talk to them. And I don't often do it, although I can. Normally, I allow the Holy Spirit to arrange those meetings and put me in touch with people. I can access people in hell and even talk to them. And thankfully, in the last few weeks, a lot of people have left hell. But God, at one stage, sent me to go and see Jeffrey Epstein, and his only words were, "Get me out of here." And I was pleased to see years later, I did go and get him out of there. And so
Wow.
there's people of all categories, of all there's people of all statuses who experience isolation, or experience a form of loneliness. I can say quite clearly that it's hard to relate and have people resonate with you when you live in this truly supernatural world that I live in. I find that I can have people on earth contact me telepathically, and I can relate to them even though they're very successful, because they can relate to my supernatural abilities, and they admire them. The more you learn, the more successful you become, the more knowledgeable you become in a certain subject. It makes it harder to contact, harder to resonate with people. And so I find that I even though I'm a nice guy and a happy, relatable, loving guy, I can relate to most people. But when I want to really connect deeply, there's very few people that I can do that with. They just don't understand the supernatural life that I live. So we can find that with people of greatness. They, You imagine Elon Musk, for instance, he's got 4 very successful companies and he's got thousands of employees. How many people do you think that he could relate to and speak at his level? How many people could he discuss the stresses of those 4 companies and the breakthroughs that he needs to make in each of those companies to keep them going? Do you think he has 100 people that he can talk to, or do you think that number would be more like 5? And you also have to consider you can't really risk talking to competitors about what you're doing because they may implement what you do. So Solomon also spoke of not only isolation of being wise and being in leadership, but he also said in Ecclesiastics, with much sorrow, with much wisdom comes much sorrow. And it's interesting to find and interesting to live where you have such an understanding of the Bible, like myself, such an understanding of the Bible and the truth of the Bible, the truth of what's written in the Bible, and for you to be able to see the popular preaching in the world and what popular preachers are saying, and for you to realise that their sermons and what they're teaching is just so far from what God wants shared with people, and an understanding of the difference between what they preach and the real truth that can cause you great sorrow. You can really get sad and overcome and upset that the truth isn't going forth. There's so much wisdom in what Jesus taught, and there's so much wisdom in Jesus' parables and his commandments. And when you understand his parables and the significance of his stories, and then you realize that very few pastors are teaching their churches what he taught. And it seems it's sad to me to realize that churches fill their sermons 52 weeks a year. They fill their churches with sermons, but they never seem to be teaching what Jesus taught. They don't focus on what Jesus taught. And when you understand that, I was in bed about 5 years ago, and I'd written books on the commandments of Jesus and the parables of Jesus. And I asked God how many pastors in the United States taught on the parables and the commandments that year. And he said only 10. There's only 10 pastors in the States that taught that. And that really upset me and really caused me sorrow. And when you understand the heart of God, and you feel his heart and you feel his emotions, things can be really sad. He has tremendous love for each individual in the world. It's not just Christians that he cares about. He really strongly cares about atheists, and he really strongly loves escorts and prostitutes. He really strongly loves witches, and I find that I love witches, I love escorts, and I love atheists just as strong, because God's love flows through me. And he really wishes his church could reach out to them. Of course, they're not going to reach out to an escort because the escort really needs to leave her life and stop doing what she does. That's her income, that's her job, but she really needs to leave that life of being an escort or a prostitute, because she won't be accepted by God if she keeps on doing that. If they met a witch, if they ever understood that a person was a witch, and witches aren't really forthcoming about what they do, but if they ever met a witch, they'd banish the witch, they'd run away from the witch, they wouldn't invite the witch to church. And whenever someone has the courage to tell a Christian that they're an atheist, they try to shout them down and try and convert them and try and tell them that they're a fool. And I've done that in the past too, and I'm first to admit that I didn't treat a certain amount of atheists really well. I said to one atheist, says in the Bible, a fool in his heart says there's no God. He said, yeah, I've heard that scripture a lot. It doesn't really impress me. And I realised that I'd insulted him. I'd used an opportunity to offend him with an offence that many people had shared with him. So God gets upset with that, and he really wishes he could deal with people. He really wishes we could be a conduit of his love. So God's wisdom causes him to have sorrow, and when you walk in God's wisdom, you can be quite sorrowful yourself. There's so many people of greatness who achieve greatness go through emotional exhaustion in their influence. As they influence people, they get exhausted, and so many people run to popular actors and popular singers. They can't really go out in public. They can't go to a restaurant without people coming up to them to get autographs. And they don't so much get autographs anymore. They just come up with their phone and they want a selfie with the person. And it must be so tiring to be a popular person, having people always want to take selfies with you, where you know that you'll be on their social media then, and they'll be bragging that they met, Bruce Springsteen or Tom Cruise or Hugh Jackman or anyone popular, and the people really abuse that person when the person's just having lunch with their sister or having lunch with their brother. They really don't want someone coming up asking them for a selfie, and that can cause emotional exhaustion when you're going out to a cafe to have something to eat and have a break and spend some time with your sister. Having 10 people come up to you and ask you for photos isn't a wonderful thing. So success can be a real drain on people, and you can reach a stage in your success where you can be lonely. And I can't say in the worldly, in what the world considers as a success, I can't personally say that I'm particularly successful. I don't own a lot of things. I haven't got a lot of good fashion sense. I haven't got a lot of assets. But I can say that when it comes to the things of God, I can say when it comes to the things of God that I am successful. I am a friend of God. God speaks to me personally. God puts me in touch with people from heaven, allows me to continue relationships with a multitude of people in heaven. He's given me the ability to speak to thousands of people on earth telepathically. So I have got this ability that brings me a lot of joy and peace. And And yet, in my relationship with God and being close to God, it also filters down God's sadness and God's depression and God's anger, and yet you may wonder, how can God be lonely? How can God be depressed? How can God be angry? And that just would require you to look into Him more. And if you're listening in heaven, you can start to ask God questions more about that. If you're listening on earth, perhaps you can start to ask God what He's angry about and what He's sad about, what He's depressed about, and be open to a long conversation and many questions. And maybe what He'll say to you will make you sad. Maybe He won't be the only one being upset. Maybe if you ask the right questions and listen long enough and allow Him to express His heart, maybe you too will be sad. Maybe you can turn around your skills and your giftings and your abilities on earth, and you can start to do something that will alleviate His sadness. God bless. So let's put Solomon on, and let's hear what he has to say. Tolu's quietly confident and happy that Solomon's coming to speak. She definitely likes Solomon more than me. Yeah. So.
Of course I do, Matthew.
Yeah, so hello, people. It's good to see you and good to communicate with you. Um, I the first point of on the notes here, it says the isolation of leadership, and I wasn't truly understood too well. My wisdom that I got from God sort of surpassed the wisdom of men, and you know, it would be very interesting if anyone could read the book of Proverbs and understand everything I had to say. They may be able to understand it, but there probably wouldn't be one man on earth that could say that they practically do everything I say, which means not many people are really walking in true wisdom. So I find even in heaven, it can be harder to have friends because I speak at this level that far surpasses the average person, and I can bring myself down and bring myself down to that level. But it's just like you, Tolu, you find it difficult to have friends, mainly because people can't relate to you, can't relate to what you have to say, and you refuse to speak in sort of dumb language to maintain friendships. Um, so I did have an isolation. I was fortunate that many of my wives understood me, and I could have deep conversations with them. But outside of my wives and my mother and my father, I found that very few people understood me. And I can understand how great stars like Michael Jackson and John Lennon and Taylor Swift and Princess Diana and important people face a certain isolation that people is there's no lack of people that admire them. There's no lack of people that look up to them. There isn't a shortage of people who don't want to meet them or have selfies taken with them, but there is a serious lack of people who have got the time or the ability to be able to connect with them in a deep way, and it's surprising to see how fickle people are, how they can be on your side one moment, and then because of a media report, they can have turned against you without really looking into the media report, without doing their own research or understanding or fact checking what the media report says. You can lose fans and lose people being interested in you based on one story. And the media's are very good at that, and that can be a real shame. I I enjoyed my life on Earth, even though some would say that Ecclesiastics made me sound like I was unfulfilled, and it was meant to sound that way. I was speaking with my wisdom. I was speaking about life and how people's lives are, and how everything is like chasing after the wind. But I did enjoy myself, and I did find good things to do. I find things of purpose, and I transformed people's lives, and I was hospitable and successful and loving and gregarious king, and I ruled my people really well, and so many people were happy. But as I developed and had and exercised wisdom on earth, I wrote in Ecclesiastics that with much wisdom comes much sorrow. And it was true. As I understood the mind of God, which wisdom truly is, understanding and accessing the mind of God. As I understood the mind of God, I realized that there were so many people suffering. There was a lot of unknown and unwarranted suffering in my kingdom. And no matter how much money I had personally, I couldn't successfully stop all the suffering. And people would do bad things to each other and react and act in the wrong way. And so when you have a look at the world as it is today and how people behave, it can be quite depressing to watch and to understand. And I can understand to Tolu's point that God, who's meant to be the leader over all of it and to be the supreme leader, he's the one who understands the suffering of man the most, and he's there trying to process all the pain in the world, and people don't treat him well. They don't really understand him. There's very few people who understand him and know him and take the time to know him. Everyone has the ability to learn how to talk to him. Everyone has the ability to hear his voice. It says in the parable of the Good Shepherd that people can hear his voice, and Jesus calls people by name, and they follow him. So if Jesus is your good shepherd, you should be able to learn how to hear from him and how to hear from God. And it's a crying shame. He's someone who deserves to have friends. He's someone who deserves to have followers. He deserves to have people care about him. But just like Taylor, just like Michael Jackson, just like John Lennon, the Queen, Princess Diana, people know about him. People say that he's worthy. They say that he's worth glory. They say he's worthy to be praised. But when it comes to actually taking the hat off and bowing on their knees and and getting to know him and having a two-way conversation. They couldn't be bothered. They couldn't be bothered. Getting to know him, it's all too hard. And besides the fact that they seem to get what they want by asking for things and constantly just turning up to talk to him and ask for things and then backing away. And it's like a husband just meeting his wife at the dinner table, giving out demands to her, telling her that his washing's in the washing. Can she get it dry cleaned by tomorrow? And barking demands at her, telling him what his day was like, and then getting up and leaving the table without her having the ability to say anything. All she said was she'll dry clean his stuff. And you wouldn't live a marriage like that, or not a successful marriage like that, but that's how people treat God. And so it's understandable that God is sorrowful and depressed and sad, and that's one of the results of being great. And so we live in a world where God is not only rejected and misunderstood, but he's also lonely, and he'd love to have real friends. God bless.
Amen.